Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, one of my personal goals for 2025 is taking my brand to the next level. We're going to learn from an expert on the high performance method. That's just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, I think we all get kind of stuck in a rut. We're doing the same thing, and there's that old saying, if you keep doing what you've always been doing, you're only going to get what you've already done. And that's when you sometimes bring in a high-performance coach, like my next guest. Rob Zweerman is a friend of mine. He was on my show about a month ago from our Austin studios, and you happened to be in town on some business, and I said, you got to come in studio. So, Rob, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Jeff. It's great to be in person. I've seen the Austin production and the amazing studio that you're building over there, but this is a whole nother level, so I appreciate it.
You're very kind. Okay, high performance method. What does it mean?
High performance method. I get this question a lot because people, they have heard about high performance, but they haven't really been able to put it into context. So the high performance method, I have to kind of take us back to how it all began for me. But I was born and raised in the Netherlands. And as a young person, I went to college, followed the path that society set out. And I knew from a very young age that I was unemployable. I laugh about that because it just never felt right to me to just, do what is expected of you and follow that standard path that a lot of people are taking. And so I knew that there was something more for me. But throughout those years, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do and obviously making a lot of mistakes in that process. And that was before I even knew that, coaching, mentorship, it exists for business too. I always played sports at a high level, so I was familiar in that context to have coaches and mentors around you to tell you what to do, but never considered that could apply to business as well. So essentially, the high performance method became a blueprint, something that I started documenting, right? The lessons that I've learned, the failures along the way, the people that I met, and the successes as well. And I started to document that in a way that I could learn from my own mistakes, right? They say smart people learn from their own mistakes. And little by little over the years, that really started to build into this massive book. I'm close to 250 pages of documentation.
Wow.
And then much later on, I had to organize all of it, and that's where I started to see a framework around this. And what started out as a method to first teach our internal staff in how to avoid some of the mistakes that I made on my own without any guidance and coaching, we started then teaching that to other businesses and entrepreneurs that would come to us with their problems and their challenges, and we realized it works for them too. And so that's the long version of what the high performance method allowed us to do. And it's really a documented bookwork of like successes, failures, life lessons. And you can apply this to your personal life as well as in your business.
Yes. We're going to pull up his website, and I want you to talk about the kinds of clients you like to work with.
Yeah, so thank you for pulling this up. So the high performance method is basically centered around everything we do. And so the types of people we like to work with are people that have built a business, they have a product or a service, but they have plateaued. I heard one of your other guests speaking about this concept, and this happens a lot. And that's when we say, you got to talk to some people to have that extra set of eyes that have walked the path that you want to go and offer solutions, right? Bridge that gap. And so that's what the high performance method is. So on our website, you will find a lot of resources that can fill different gaps. So depending on where you're at, depending on what your specific needs are, we have resources, including we have a virtual experience that we allow people to participate for free. And it's really just everything from the high performance method that we're teaching as a mindset tool to create clarity and vision, especially now, January 2025, right? This is the moment where you want to implement, refresh your perspective so you can bridge those gaps.
Absolutely. I urge you to go hit to social media because there's all these testimonials, literally dozens and dozens. I found one that I really like. Let's go ahead and roll that.
Hi, my name is Tej Patel and I run a video production company, and I've been working with Rob for several years now. Me and Rob started working with a few clients early on, and we only grew from there and ended up working on many different projects with so many different clients, and growing from small productions to really doing a high number of higher quality productions. And what that led me to do was go from being a one-man show to now having to deal with so many different productions. And during that time, Rob really helped me out when my business was really facing this process of growth that I had never faced before. Rob really helped me out through that process by using his knowledge and really giving me great advice in terms of how to use systems and processes, how to delegate tasks, how to stay on top of deadlines, and so many other different things we would often talk about in terms of how I could efficiently grow my business and, you know, have people that I delegate tasks to so that I could focus on growing the business while the projects were getting taken care of at the same time. And so Rob has been tremendous to work with as just a business partner as well, because he's always been super understanding of things while at the same time pushing me to make sure that we are hitting the standard, we're hitting great quality work, but at the same time being understanding to the growth process. And really, I look at him like a mentor when it comes to that. And our relationship has been absolutely amazing. I would definitely recommend working with Rob. He's very knowledgeable about how businesses grow, how businesses scale, how to set up systems and processes, and just be a more efficient person. So thank you so much. Take care.
Wow, and he's also your video team, is that right?
Yeah, Tej, phenomenal story. Tej and I met right here in Dallas, and Tej, back in the days, he used to be a solopreneur, right? A one-man show, and then outsourcing some of his video work to contractors, depending on the scope. So Tej and I worked closely together on my projects, and I really brought him on as a partner because he was a very talented individual. And moreover, he was very eager to learn. And so where high performance and the high performance method came into play is kind of acknowledging the gaps that we talked about earlier and then filling it up. And in his case, it was building a team around that because he was too much in the trenches while he was supposed to be a delegator,
yes,
right? He was opening up the doors and closing projects, while then he delegates the work. So we have been successfully able to build a team around that. And we have been enjoying this relationship for, I think, over 6 or 7 years even.
Wow.
Tej is definitely a success story, and really enjoyed that journey together.
And it must be so gratifying to watch him grow as an entrepreneur. I know one of the things you're really passionate about is diversification. So what does that mean to you?
I love that you're asking because you might relate to this story, Jeff, but there will be a point in time where you build a business, whatever that is, a business, a product, a service, but at some point, everything just starts looking the same, right? Like you have been doing this for a number of years. There's no more innovation happening, right? So you kind of plateau at that level of growth. So diversification, like our philosophy around that is that we take a look around your life, because a business is meant to serve as a vehicle to live your ultimate potential, right? It's meant to serve you not just as a vehicle to generate money or revenues, but as a vehicle to live out your best life. So diversification relates to the aspect of asking yourself what's next. Because if you hit, let's say, a certain revenue number in your business, well, money is a tool, right? It's a resource to make plays, to be in the game.
Sure.
And so you got to ask yourself the question, what's my next 5 to 10 years going to look like? And you might be at the peak of your momentum right now in business, but you have to take a look into the future and say, where's my next journey heading towards? And then using that money perhaps as a resource to open up new doors. And in my case, it started with several investments, and we ended up in commercial real estate, where a lot of my time is spent right now. And it allowed us to strengthen our current portfolio of businesses, right? It gave us a very strong foundation while we continue pouring time and resources into these investments to grow long-term wealth. So diversification is definitely something that you should think about from the beginning and not at the end where you have reached your peak of your potential, because now you're too late in the game. This is something you want to start with.
Okay, it's 2025, and a lot of people are still like trying to keep that New Year's resolution intact. It could have been, taking care of your finances or going to the gym and getting healthy. One of my New Year's resolution is working on my personal brand. So I know you urge all of your clients to really think about their personal brand. What are some action steps they can take in the next 30 days to improve their brand?
Yeah. A personal brand is really how you are known towards the marketplace, towards your relationships, towards your clients, right? It's what they think about you when they hear your name. So I urge people, besides your business, right? You have a business brand, like the Jeff Crilley Show is a business brand. But you, as a walking brand, right? When I think of Jeff Crilley, right, I think about a very professional former news anchor, phenomenal track record, right? Fantastic in hosting, very, very reliable and steady. So those are all the keywords that come up. So that's a personal brand. And if you really think about it, people do business with whom they like and trust. Would you agree?
Yes.
And so oftentimes I see that entrepreneurs, they pour so much time and energy for many years into their business brand. They keep building and building. But eventually, again, talking about that plateau, what is the reason that they're no longer growing is because people don't know personally what you stand for,
right,
or what you care about. So I think what is going to make this year different is if you invest time and effort into your personal brand and involve your clientele, involve your audience, letting them know what you care about, the causes, what defines you.
Yes.
Because ultimately, more people can relate to that side of your story than they can towards your product or service.
Yes, I believe in that. You could be a realtor with, Remax for 20 years in a small town, and then you jump to Ebby Halliday or something like that, and your personal brand is bigger than the corporate brand.
Absolutely.
In a small town.
Absolutely. I mean, you will be able to take your entire list and your relationships with you on anything you put your name to, because you invested in communicating the values and the norms and the things that define you, yes, other than what you do. So 2025, I believe if you haven't already started investing in a personal brand, you have to develop it. You have to let people know what you care about, because eventually if you think about longevity, right, the personal brand or your reputation, essentially, that's the only thing that nobody can take away.
Amen. We're almost out of time. So Rob, final thoughts. What would you like to leave people with?
I believe that 2025 is a phenomenal year. There's a lot of energy in the air. Obviously, we had a little bit of a rough patch in 2024. Regardless of where you're at, currently here in the United States, right? There are a lot of things that happened. But I always say what comes down must go up and vice versa. So I feel there's a lot of momentum in the air. 2025 is the year where you got to build your personal brand. You got to work on defining who are you, and you got to communicate that so that people can associate and relate to your story. Second, if you haven't really reached your full potential yet, if you feel that you're not operating at peak capacity, right, and really have that momentum going for you, identify where you are today and some of your bottlenecks, right? That's if we have had a conversation together, that's probably what we will explore, right? Where you're at and what are some of these bottlenecks that are preventing you from going there. And then eventually, Jeff, in 2025, I think it's time to do something scary. You got to pick up something that scares you and go after this, because the moment you go through something that scares you, then you look back. What happens usually? How do you feel?
You're stronger.
You're stronger, right? And that thing that scared you and that holds you back in all previous years, and maybe even for the past 10 years, now no longer scares you that much. And it gives you a sense of freedom. So that's my wish for everybody in 2025, to do things, be bold, work on that personal brand, and you're setting yourself up for success.
Outstanding show. Thank you so much for coming back on. We're going to end with his website, which is, of course, robschwerman.com. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Really appreciate it.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.